Now, the everything bubble was unique for two reasons. One is that when you got a crisis, be it the GFC, be it COVID, policymakers just threw liquidity at the system. So there was lots of cash coming in. And secondly, they made the error of slashing interest rates to 0%. Now, when I used to work at Salomon Brothers, the US investment bank, many years ago, the key text that we were schooled on was a book called The History of Interest Rates by Sidney Homer, who was an earlier head of research at Salomon. And that book catalogued 4,000 years of interest rate history. Nowhere in those pages do you ever read about zero interest rates. So the situation that we've come through in the last 15 years have been absolutely unique in human history. And that just underscores what an anomaly we've had. During that period of zero interest rates, debt was termed out. In other words, borrowers who were sitting on large interest rate loans that were upcoming in the next 2 or 3 years decided they'd refinance them, and they'd push that refinancing back into the latter part of this decade, the 2020s. And if you look at the graph, you'll see that the orange line is starting to shoot up, and it tests that broken line threshold sometime in 2026, 27. And that is basically saying that we're moving into a much tighter liquidity framework because more debt has to be refinanced. This chart illustrates that change in the annual debt roll on our estimates. The bite out of the chart in 21, 22, 23 was the response to zero interest rates when debt was termed out to the back end of the decade. The darker red bars are showing our estimates of the amount of debt that's coming back. And this is not the level, this is the change in the level. So these are increments of extra debt that has to be refinanced. If you get a problem in the repo markets, you'll start to see repo spreads blowing out. And this is the repo spread against Fed funds. Now, if this is a barometer, or even if you like a sort of a heart monitor of the system, you'll see that we're starting to get some pretty scary readings coming out. And the point to note is not necessarily the spikes, the scale of them, but the frequency. Because what this is saying is you've got increasing tensions. Now, we understand fully that repo markets tighten at the end of each quarter and they need liquidity. But the point here is that you've got a trend. And what's happened in the last week is you've seen spikes in repo,